I am super excited about this video. We are going to talk about my favorite power amplifiers under $500. So these are amplifiers. Some of them straight up don't have any volume control. Others have volume control, but it's only one RCA input. The point is, we're talking about separate amplifiers. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's talk about my favorite or the best power amplifiers under $500. Today our video is sponsored by, that's right, they're back. It's Sith Audio. Sith Audio, stick it memo. That's right, they're not Post-its because of some ongoing litigation. These are Sith Audio stick it memos. When you need to write yourself an audio file message to remind yourself to unplug something or plug something back in, or to move the speakers, or to complain about something online, make sure you use Sith Audio audio file. What did I say? Stick it memo. That's right. Stick it memos have a fine, matte finish that allow even the most refined writing instrument to receive your beautiful calligraphy. These come in a pack of 50 and are only $49.99. That's right, a mere $1 per stick it memo. They'll work on amplifiers. They'll work on tube amps, although I wouldn't recommend that because they are highly flammable. They'll work on speakers. They'll also work on a camera. Not very well. So run on over to the sithaudio.com.net/audio.url.org. Make sure to buy your stick it memos. Thank you, Sith Audio, for sponsoring today's video.
Back in that.
Let's get this going. We're gonna go from least expensive to most expensive. The wonderful news is the most expensive amplifier is only gonna be $500 or thereabouts. Could be $550, something like that. Anyway, it's gonna be less than $500-ish, kind of, maybe. Some of these I have in the house, others I don't because I've given them away. But I have listened to every single one of these amplifiers, so it's not like I'm just naming stuff, grabbing stuff out of thin air. No, these are cheap Audio Man used products. Not used product, you can buy them new still. I've just used them and listened to them. Let's get started. This is coming off the rails.
Back in that bag again.
Coming in at a mere 80, not a mere, coming in at a mere. A mere's at Audio Science Review. A mere $81 is the Fosi Audio V3. You will hear a bit of a reoccurring theme with most of these amplifiers that are under $150. Those amplifiers are going to have the Texas Instruments 3255 amp chipset. The V3 is kind of the first iteration of Fosi Audio's more audiophile, in quotes, audiophile components. It's a good amplifier. However, it can be a little bit thin on the bottom. However, this is probably the first, really, it images well, it places things in space well, gives an overall larger presentation, and it makes more power than most amps with the 3255 chipset because it has more cooling. I would say that this is the first thoughtfully, intentionally designed Fosi Audio product. The reason for more cooling is for more sustained power. The gotcha on this amplifier is the power supply. To get the most out of the amplifier as far as the most power, you will need a 48 volt 5 or 10 amp power supply. And sometimes that can be more expensive. The one at $81 comes with a 32 volt power supply. Most situations, on most speakers, it's still going to be enough. They usually play well into the 80s, even into a large room, even with speakers that are around 85 dB sensitive. I love this amplifier because of the cleanliness and the space. It may disappoint you on the bottom end. It's not quite as beefy. You can see the ventilation on the top and the bottom. And on the back, you just have one pair of RCA ins and then your speaker outputs on the front. Just have volume control. You can also switch out the op amps on this if you so choose. Put in some Sparkos op amps or some Burson op amps and have some fun. Tailor the music to your liking even more because there's no tone controls on this. The amplifiers I'm going to talk about today don't have any tone controls. So you're going to have to do that in the source. You're going to have to do that in an EQ or something like that. If you want a little bit more flexibility, if you want a little bit more power, well, I've got you covered. Right here is the
Back in that bag again. Whoa, whoa, yeah, yeah. Hey.
Aiyima A07 Max. That's right. This is an iteration of the very popular Aiyima A07. Still uses the 3255 chipset from Texas Instruments. However, this one has a bit of a secret. You can run this one in mono mode. You can get two of these for more power. So you can get one now, use it as a stereo amplifier. Then you can get another one later, which would be a total of two, and then you'll get more power. This also has pretty decent cooling on the sides. Fundamentally very similar. However, the A07 Max, in my opinion, has better bass, better bottom end, a little bit more thickness on the bottom. You cannot trust the rated power. They will say 300 watts or something silly like that. It doesn't make anywhere near 300 watts. Maybe for a brief second, but usually even burst tests on these don't get anywhere near 300 watts. However, they still put out usable power, which I'm talking about 50, 80 watts into 8 ohms, 90, maybe even 100 watts into 4 ohms. So even though they're flat out lying on their power in the description of their products, you can still get very, very, very usable power out of these little cheap power amplifiers. How cheap is it? Well, I'm glad you asked. The A07 Max comes in at a very affordable $73.59. It's even less expensive than the Fosi Audio V3 and has more functionality because you can buy another one and then run your speakers in mono from each amplifier. I think it has better bottom end than the V3. I think the V3 images has more space than the Aiyima A07. However, they both can change out their op amps. So you can put a Sparkos op amp in here, kind of get back some of that space and air. They're not free, of course, but you can get started with just one of these and start to build up your system as you save more money. Just a crazy deal for less than $74 on the Aiyima A07 Max.
Back in that bag again. Whoa.
This, my friends, is another Fosi Audio product. This is the Fosi Audio ZA3. Has some similar functionality to the A07 Max. However, you have multiple options on the back for your inputs. You have RCA inputs and balanced inputs and a subwoofer output and a trigger control, which means this can be turned on. Excited. Turned on from a preamp, maybe even a DAC. And if you noticed on the front, we have two switcheroos. A switcheroo right here, switcheroo right here. This one, if I can see it, says XLR or RCA. Boop. This one right here says stereo or mono. That's right. This one can also be used as both a stereo amp and a mono amplifier. Now, when you use this as a mono amplifier, you're not gaining a ton more power. You are getting more power. It's not going to be doubling in power though. The great news is, once again, this still puts out enough power for most products in most situations in most rooms. And you get a subwoofer output. The ZA3 actually comes with a 48 volt power supply, so you're not having to pay any extra to get the most power out of this to begin with. Also has removable op amps. This is kind of my go-to for a cheap amplifier. The problem is this is $149. There's a 5% off coupon, so this is coming in about $142. The problem is, once you start putting two of these together, you're getting up to that $300 price point. And at $300, we're starting to get awful close to what most people would consider to be an actual power amplifier that runs off of Class AB yummy power. With all that said, there's a ton of functionality. I have used this product a ton in all sorts of applications. With using these in mono, you do get a lot better channel separation. Obviously, you only have one channel going through each amplifier, which means you're not going to have any cross feed, crosstalk. That's what I meant, crosstalk. So there are still benefits other than a gain in power from going with separate amplifiers. But for really thinking about it, for the price of one ZA3, you could get two A07 Maxes. This one has better cooling though, has a lot more real estate in there if you do want to switch out the op amps. Something to consider. I think this ZA3 also sounds better than the V3. And better is subjective. I say I think it sounds better because it has more bass, more bottom end. Now we're talking, folks. This is the Emotiva A2m Stereo Flex amplifier. This is a true Class AB amplifier. It has a low noise, high frequency switching power supply. It's a smaller component from left to right. However, it's still a pretty deep component. This is putting out 50 watts into 8 ohms at less than 0.1% THD and 90 watts into 4 ohms. Also has a very capable headphone amplifier on the front, and if you so choose, if you're feeling lucky, if you're feeling a little adventurous, you can jump the headphone amplifier in the front and put full power to those really tough to drive headphones that you may have. Do that at your own risk. They do include the jumper in the box though. So with this amplifier, we are actually coming in less than if you buy two of the Fosi Audio ZA3s. This is $279, marked down from the regular $349 price. If you have the room on the top of your desk or in your rack for your soundbar replacement, this, unless you're on the tightest of tight budgets, this, the Emotiva A2m, is the product that I would purchase personally. If I had $300 and I needed a power amplifier, I would be buying the A2m. I have this amplifier here, but it's packed up in the box in the garage and I'm not going to unpack it. This is the Monolith. It is a 2-channel, what I would consider to be the first full-size traditional amplifier. 90 watts per channel into 8 ohms. Also the first amplifier we're going to talk about today that has a linear toroidal power supply. 2 times 90 into 8 ohms. Has RCA inputs. It has balanced inputs, but those balanced inputs are really there for convenience sake only because this is not a balanced or differential amplifier. And surprisingly enough, the Monoprice website is down, but this is listed on Amazon, so you can still buy it today on Amazon. It's $399. The interesting thing about this price, even though it's coming in at less than our $500 top-end budget, this will actually go on sale periodically on the Monoprice website, and you can get this thing for around $300, which is insane when you think about what you're getting. A traditional linear power supplied power amplifier with 90 watts into 8 ohms. Since I can't get on the Monoprice website, I don't remember what that spec is into 4 ohms, but trust me, it's more than you probably need. Rounding this list out is another Emotiva product. Now, this is coming in at $579. However, there are military and first responder discounts, and they also have some bundling discounts. Another traditional stereo amplifier. A toroidal transformer. That's right, my friends. Toroidal transformer. Now, on this one, no XLR connection. And you get an XLR connection on the mono price, but it's really there just for convenience sake, because it's not, again, a true balanced connection. With the BasX A2, one is getting 160 watts RMS into 8 ohms and a whopping 250 watts RMS into 4 ohms. So far and away the most powerful amplifier on this list, and I would say it's also the best amplifier on this list. I've had the Monolith mono price in. Sounds good, but with the Emotiva you get that yummy, punchy, dynamic sound and plenty of headroom for pretty much any speaker out there. If you are curious about getting into separate components, now with any of these amplifiers, you're going to need something like this. This is the Shit Saga. This is a preamp. So you will control your volume, your inputs from the preamp. Now, you don't need to buy a preamp if you're only listening to digital sources. You could legitimately run a Weem Pro straight into a power amplifier using the RCA outputs and control volume from the Weem Pro. Heck, you could also do it from the Weem Mini. Problem is, this one has a okay DAC, but you can get the Weem Pro Plus that has a better DAC, or you could get something like this. This is the SMSL Raw. What is it called? Raw MDA1. I can't help but love that model number. Look at it right there. Raw MD1. See this right here? This is a volume knob, my friends. So you would connect any of your digital sources to the back of this, and then you would RCA out of this. Or in the Monolith's case, you could XLR out of it and control volume here with a remote controlly. So there are a variety of ways to be able to get into separates at a very affordable price. If I missed any, please put it in the comments. Let's say around under $600, under $580-ish. If I missed some really decent power amplifiers, or even some of these little amplifiers that just have volume control and maybe one analog input, put it in the comments. What did I miss? I know 40% of you watching haven't subscribed, so please subscribe. You can always come back later and unsubscribe. Believe me, that happens all of the time. If you got any value out of this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to be part of the best hi-fi community in the world, check out my Patreon, patreon.com/cheapaudioman. Every other Sunday night, we have patron-only Zooms. We have a patron Discord server. We have a patron Facebook group. And patrons are always getting free stuff. So there's patron giveaways for a lot of the products that you see on this channel. So don't binge watch anything on Netflix or Hulu. Binge listen maybe through one of these awesome power amplifiers and fill your soul with happiness. With that, I'm Randy. I'm the Cheap Audio Man.